simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.
Hello and good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from news about Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Okanse. Tonight, government announces reforms for the cocoa sector, but the minority blames it for causing the crisis, sparking a broad debate. But we'll speak to the major stakeholders in the cocoa sector and exactly how they react to these far-reaching reforms announced earlier today. The Ghana Education Service has sanctioned 3 senior high schools over gang rape and stabbing at the sports event. We'll hear some details for you tonight. Also, Speaker of Parliament Alban Suman Kingsford Bagwin hints of a new facility to accommodate the evolving nature of Parliament. Well, this is not the first time this matter is coming up. But then again, is there a real need for it? Stay with us, as always, and you're an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Continue the conversation. Let's get talking. There was a balloting for the Ayaso East by-elections on March 3. We'll tell you the positions of the NDC, NPP, and the LPG. We understand there are 2 independent candidates as well who took part in the ballot. They are going to be on the ballot paper. We'll tell you about them. Plus, some areas experiencing power outage as we speak, and also in the coming days. The Electricity Company of Ghana has been explaining why you're experiencing these power outages over the last few days and in the coming days as well. We'll tell you about it as always. And let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
Government has announced sweeping reforms to overhaul Ghana's cocoa sector. The measures agreed at a cabinet meeting on Wednesday are aimed at restoring financial stability, ensuring fair and competitive prices for farmers, and repositioning the sector to long-term sustainability. As part of immediate interventions, Cocoa Board has been directed to pay all cocoa farmers who are owed without delay.
For the first time in the history of the cocoa industry, in 2023, the annual syndicated suffered significant delays due to the loss of confidence in the Ghanaian economy and the sector. The first tranche was received on 22nd December 2023, 4 months after the commencement of the season. Cocoa Board projected an output of 800,000 tons and committed 786,672 tons in contracts in 2023 and 2024 crop season.
The minority in Parliament says government's announcement of a reduction in the cocoa producer price is a total rip-off. Addressing journalists in Parliament, the caucus noted that the move is the worst reform the NDC administration could implement. The minority is also demanding the dismissal of Cocoa Board CEO Dr. Randy Abbey.
We used to sell about 70% on forward sales and 30% on spot. They argued that that was an incompetent approach and decided to change it. And now they are selling about 70% on spot. That is why today, as prices have dipped, they are struggling and are saying that the price they had announced ends up being higher than the current prices on the market.
The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, says a formal request has been forwarded to the executive to acquire a parcel of land to construct a new facility to accommodate the evolving nature of the house. He explained that the current space has several limitations that impede the effective delivery of their mandate, and the legislature cannot continue to rent facilities for its work.
We have been crying, and I hope you support us in that at least we should be liberated from being tenants of the State House to having our own premises as an arm of government. There are a lot of limitations, infrastructural limitations. It's not been easy. Even when we're about to take a decision, and you can't take a decision when there's no consensus with the voting, and that you just have to rely on the human resource.
The Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, has appealed to women to exercise patience as plans are underway to establish the Women's Development Bank. She made the appeal while addressing members of the Greater Accra Market Women Association during their 65th end-of-year gathering held at Kaneshie in Accra.
Some have complained that the establishment of the bank has been long overdue, but I want to assure you it will soon be established. Lots of consultations with stakeholders had to be done.
The Minister for Transport, Joseph Bukari Nikpe, has stated that government is making the necessary arrangements with the concessionaire handling the Buankra Inland Port project to ensure its early completion. Addressing Parliament on Thursday, he disclosed that Phase 1 of the project is 83% complete, while steady progress is being made on Phase 2. Bukari Nikpe added that the overall progress on the project currently stands at 50.54%.
Phase 1 is progressing steadily and at 83% complete. Phase 2 is expected to include, among others, external boundary road works, construction of sewer lines, transit facilities, referral stations, and other civil works. The overall physical progress of the project stands at 50.54%.
Well, there's more of this you'll find on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and on DSTV 279, also all across the world on 3news.com. Proudly brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Sasson Insecticide Spray and Call Tum Tum Preko. Coming up next on Ghana Tonight, government announces reforms for the sector. Talking about the cocoa sector. But the minority on the blame, the putting squarely on the doorstep of government the crisis situation in the cocoa sector, sparking a broad debate on exactly the impact of these far-reaching reforms that have been announced. And tonight we're going to be hearing from major stakeholders in this sector. We're talking about the farmers, the cocoa farmers themselves, and also the license buying companies, LBCs. They're more like an intermediary between the cocoa board and the farmers. We'll find out from them as well, because some of these reforms largely impact on their work. So they're going to be joining us. We'll have a big conversation on this. But government has unveiled major reforms to overhaul Ghana's cocoa sector, aiming to restore financial stability. That's number one. Ensure fair pricing for farmers, too, and also promote long-term sustainability. Now, as an immediate measure, Cocoa Board has been instructed to promptly and immediately pay all outstanding dues to cocoa farmers. Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atuforsin addressed the press earlier today. Take a look.
To bring relief to unpaid cocoa farmers Cabinet has accordingly directed the Ghana Cocoa Board to commence immediate repayment of all affected cocoa farmers. 2, a new Cocoa Board bill will be presented to Parliament to implement an automatic adjustment of producer price to align with movement in the world market price, exchange rate, and other key variables, and guarantees a minimum of 70% of gross FOB price to be paid to the cocoa farmer. A new financing model for cocoa purchases and related operations with associated benefit for increased processing will be introduced effective 2026-2027 crop season.
So one of the other issues as well that we're learning today as well from the finance minister is a transfer of the debts as a result of the cocoa roads, the debts that this administration inherited from the previous administration, the contracts that had been awarded under this cocoa roads running into billions, over 4 billion, now is going to be transferred from the books of Cocoa Board onto the books of the Ministry of Roads and the Finance Ministry. He gave some more detail about this. Take a look.
The Minister of Roads and Cocoa Board jointly conducted this rationalization exercise to reduce the exposure on cocoa roads. Upon the completion of the exercise, the total exposure of 21.7 billion Ghana cedis has since been reduced to 4.35 billion Ghana cedis. Cabinet has directed that the liabilities of the 4.35 billion be transferred to the Ministry of Roads and Ministry of Finance. Cabinet also noted that road construction accounts for a significant part of the financial difficulties that Cocoa Board is facing at the moment.
So the CEO of Cocoa Board, Dr. Randy Abbey, spoke to me earlier on this matter of the cocoa roads. We're going to be replaying that to you just to get a clear understanding. Reason why this cocoa roads debt is a big deal on Cocoa Board's books. Now, government is mulling the idea of going back to reissue or issue cocoa bonds. Now, you know that investors have had their fingers burnt investing in cocoa bonds in the last 4 to 5 years, and I had to take a haircut. And so what is going to happen differently this time around with this whole idea of government now wanting to issue cocoa bonds, and on whose books are those cocoa bonds going to be sitting? Is it Cocoa Board or the Finance Ministry? So all of these ideas of now reducing the debt levels on cocoa bonds books by transferring some of these expenditures or these debts is one that financial analyst Joe Jackson is going to be joining us. We'll have a quick conversation on it as well, because as we speak, the current situation in the books of Cocoa Board doesn't look good. So if we're going to issue these cocoa bonds, how do we go about it, or what can be done differently so that those investors who have had their fingers burnt, lost money as a result of their investment in the cocoa bonds previously, would now be looking with this to this one with a different eye? We'll look into that. But the minority in Parliament, they've been talking as well, reacting to this particular position and the details by the Finance Minister earlier today. Let's first hear from the ranking on the Economic Committee of Parliament, Kojo Nkrumah Forsia, Member of Parliament. He had a few demands, including the response to some of the points that the Finance Minister put out at that press conference at 2:30 p.m. today. Take a look.
The new managers of the cocoa sector have reset the trading program of Cocoa Board. We used to sell about 70% on forward sales and 30% on spot. They argued that that was an incompetent approach and decided to change it. And now they are selling about 70% on spot. That is why today, as prices have dipped, they are struggling and are saying that the price they had announced ends up being higher than the current prices on the market. That's number one. This action to announce a 28% reduction in the price amounts to a haircut of about 28% on close to 1 million Ghanaian cocoa farmers. Already when you go into the cocoa growing areas, I was in my areas just a few days ago, A lot of young people are already not going into cocoa because they say the older folk who went into it, they don't see a transformation in their lives. It's left with the old, elderly, poor on the farms. When you do this, what is going to happen in subsequent years is that even those ones will not be going into the cocoa production. If they won't sell their cocoa farms to Galamsey operators, God knows what they will do. All of this has come about because of the reset that Cocoa Board did. And that is why, respectfully, we ask the president to relieve the Cocoa Board CEO of his responsibilities at this point in time. Number two, we are asking the government that in previous times when cocoa prices fell and the government absorbed the shock and protected the cocoa farmer, the NDC government should absorb the cost of what they have done and protect the cocoa farmer and restore at least the 3,625 that they promised. This 2,800 or so that they are promising is totally unacceptable. Already we are receiving messages from cocoa farmers who say that if this is what is going to happen, they are going to demonstrate in a number of these. And if they do, we in this caucus, we will join them on the streets to do this demonstration. We thank you for the time.
He was not the only one who spoke. Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, the former finance minister, immediate past finance minister, also had this to say at that same press conference earlier today. Take a look.
A bailout would have been necessary rather than reducing the producer price for cocoa. We warned this government about the reckless overvaluation of our currency. We warned them several times that these dollars they are pumping into the economy, that reckless intervention. Last year alone, they intervened to the tune of 10 billion United States dollars. The trend has continued. That reckless overvaluation of our currency will affect our economy. Because those of you who understand economics know that when you overvalue your currency, it adversely affects the export competitiveness of your country. Government should know, because they have economists amongst them. They should know that anytime you are implementing a policy, there are trade-offs. There are trade-offs, and therefore by overvaluing the currency as a policy, they should know that other sectors will suffer. So what a responsible government has to do is to achieve what we call policy equilibrium.
So that's Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam there. And the finance minister did announce the review in the producer price from 51,660 per ton down to 41,392 cedis per ton. And here's the reason why. We looked at the Bloomberg terminal. It tells you how cocoa is trading on the world market, because even though we're the second largest producer of cocoa in the world, the determination of the price of it, we don't have full control over. And that's why there are many who are reacting to this decision now by government to ensure that at least 50% of the cocoa that we grow and produce in this country is refined, as it were, value added to it locally. How would that change the dynamics of the influence of the global price on the world market? But this is it. This is what the Bloomberg terminal tells us. As of 9:48 p.m. today when we check, cocoa prices have actually dropped by some 3.42%. From $3,724 per metric ton down by some 3.42%. So that tells you that the downward trend that we've seen the price of cocoa actually experience over the last 6 months to a year consistently. Even today, just some few minutes ago, we saw this. $3,724 per ton, 3.42 percentage points reduction in price. We've got to keep an eye on this, because if you want to understand what's happening on the world market in terms of commodity pricing, the Bloomberg terminal is a place to go. And so this is it. But then again, Joe Jackson is connecting with us. He is the CEO of Dalex Finance. We also have the president of the license buying companies, the LBCs, and they are the ones who are an intermediary between Cocoa Board and the farmer in this whole transaction of buying cocoa beans from the farmer. So they are critical in the scheme of things in understanding how far-reaching these reforms will be. The cocoa farmers as well have been expressing their view. But Justin, appreciate you. Thank you for joining us this evening here on Ghana Tonight. If you look at these measures that have been announced today by the finance minister, point one, immediate payment of all outstanding arrears owed cocoa farmers. Point two, introduction of automatic producer price adjustments linked to global prices and exchange rates. So it's going to be automatic. So, for instance, as we're seeing now with the prices trending downwards on the world market, automatically the price locally would have to change. It doesn't have to take all of this back and forth in what we're seeing now. And also the guarantee of a minimum producer price, and that's what we're going to put on the screen right now. And then the fourth point, the replacement of the old syndicated loan module with domestic cocoa bonds. And this is what I'm going to seek your view on as we go on as well. The replacement of the syndicated loan module. So now government says, look, we're not going to go in for syndicated loan to buy cocoa beans from the farmers. We're rather going to issue domestic cocoa bonds. Now, bearing in mind, what has happened in the not too distant past, where investors have lost money because of the haircuts on these cocoa bonds not too long ago. So we'll find out how viable this option will be. Plus, permission for Cocoa Board to sell any volume of beans to local processors. And then also the revival of the produce buying company. PBC is on its knees. We've been speaking to workers. A number of them, until recently, they've had arrears, months of their salaries. And in fact, some companies have taken PBC to court. Some properties end up being garnished and so on. So we'll be finding out what is the turnaround plan. All of this in the coming days, we need clarity. Also, the revival of the cocoa processing company, CPC, and mandatory processing of at least 50% of cocoa locally. So this is a game changer, as many have described it, but then we need a bit more detail into exactly how this is going to play out going forward. The mandatory processing of at least 50% of cocoa locally from 2026 to 2027. That's not all. They talk about the conversion of the 5.8 billion legacy debt into equity. And then this 4.35 billion cedis, cocoa roads liabilities. That's monies that have not been paid to contractors who have been awarded contract under cocoa roads. That is going to now be borne by the roads ministry and the finance ministry. It's going to be off the books of Cocoa Board. Forensic audit and criminal investigation into Cocoa Board's past operations as well. So this is one area that anti-corruption crusaders also will be looking at. But Mr. Jackson, how far-reaching are these proposals that the finance minister put out earlier today? The agenda for the revamping or resetting the cocoa sector, as was earlier captioned.
Well, first of all, listen, we cannot afford to have our cocoa sector in the mess that it is in, to the point where the farmers are crying that they are not being paid, we are not able to finance it. So whatever it is, some reforms were going to be needed, were going to be required. So on the positive side, listen, the move towards market-based pricing and guaranteed minimums, excellent. It's good for the farmers. On the second hand, if they strengthen financing mechanisms, it will only help Cocoa Board be better placed to buy cocoa and to trade cocoa. Listen, that can be a problem. The third thing is that we wish to add value to the domestic economy. That we can only applaud. And then there is the focus on accountability. So the positive side, but there are a few risks we have to look at. Number one, execution risk. And I suppose we will talk about operationalizing domestic bonds and the risk it carries. We will talk about the fact that Cocoa Board may need some more institutional reform. And are these local agencies that are going to add value Are they well placed to add value, or they're going to destroy value because they are inefficient? Those are questions we have to ask. And what is going to be done to mitigate that risk? So there's, stronger institutional capacity required in Cocoa Board and other local processes. And then if global prices continue to fall, just maybe our farmers will be exposed to a lot of risk. So they're good, it's good, but there are concerns that we have.
And this is where I bring in the bit about the cocoa bonds. And I want us to take a listen to the finance minister talk about that, Mr. Jackson, because that's an area as well that has generated quite some reaction as to how this will play out, taking into consideration what has happened to investors in the not too distant past. Take a listen to Dr. Kassia Latouf-Forson.
It will be domestic bonds. It will be called cocoa bonds. It will be meant largely for the purchases of cocoa beans and to finance the crop, and it will be domestic. It will be issued on the balance sheet of the Ghana Cocoa Board. The issues of concern with Ghana Cocoa Board balance sheet will be dealt with, and I've announced a raft of measures that will deal with the balance sheet issues with Ghana Cocoa Board. But beyond that, I believe Cocoa Board will be in a better place to enter the domestic market and revamp the industry.
That's Dr. Kassia Latouf-Forson there, Mr. Jackson. So he acknowledges that the balance sheet of Cocoa Board, the books of Cocoa Board don't look good as we speak. And so measures are going to be put in place to deal with that. And one of it we've seen is lifting the debt sitting on Cocoa Board's books as a result of these cocoa road contracts now being lifted, over 4 billion being lifted to the roads ministry and the finance ministry. They're going to have to deal with that. And Parliament will be called in as well in this entire arrangement. I mean, but from where you sit, taking into consideration the fact that it's not just about the balance sheet of Cocoa Board, it's also about whether these cocoa bonds would attract investors, taking into consideration what's happened almost 5 years ago, where investors lost money as a result of this haircut that we had to suffer.
I like the way you put it, that what Cocoa Board books are not good. Yeah, that's right. Bad. They're horrible. And in fact, Cocoa Board had problems borrowing on its own balance sheet. So listen, the idea that 5.8 billion in legacy Cocoa Board debt will be converted to equity by the Ministry of Finance, interesting. That 4.35 billion in road-related liabilities will be transferred to the Ministries of Roads and Ministry of Finance. All good. Listen, it improves Cocoa Board's balance sheet, and then it will make it able to borrow and increase investor confidence. But again, I would like to warn about red flags. You see, converting debt to equity is just an accounting fix. And unless it is underpinned by meaningful changes to the institution, nothing will change. You've got to look at capacity. You've got to look at productivity. You've got to look at effectiveness and efficiency. You've got to look, are we overstaffed? And I mentioned staff in particular because in times past, we've had occasion to question the huge increases in Cocoa Board staffing levels. And shifting liabilities to other ministries and the Ministry of Finance just increases pressure on institutions that are already struggling to pay their arrears. The idea is good, but again, if this is not accompanied by institutional changes to all the to Cocoa Board and other stakeholders who are supposed to add value, all this could end up in trouble. Fantastic ideas, great ideas, but you've got to look at the execution carefully.
Justin, appreciate you for this. I thank you very much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight with your thoughts on this matter. This is just the beginning of conversations on these proposals and then also how it will be done. You acknowledge these are great, but then a lot more detail on this implementation, execution is important. Joe Jackson is CEO of Dalex Finance, and the bit about accountability, okay, and what's happened in the management of Cocoa Board over the years. What we got from the finance minister today is that there's going to be a forensic audit of the management of Cocoa Board over the period. And this is exactly what the finance minister said. And that this will lead us to a conversation with the license buying companies, LBCs. The president is joining us on Zoom as well, but take a listen to this.
Pursuant to the earlier announcement that I made in the course of last year, the new cocoa bill that is going to Parliament will now prohibit Cocoa Board from such quasi-fiscal expenditures and other non-core expenditures going forward. And it will come with punishment if they ever do so. Cabinet also directed the Attorney General to commission concurrent forensic audit and criminal investigation into the activities of Cocoa Board over the last 8 years.
So let's go on to Zoom now, and Samuel Adimado is president of the Licensed Cocoa Buyers Association of Ghana, a critical stakeholder in this cocoa sector in Ghana. Adimado, thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. First off, for you as LBC, your major takeaway would be this directive to have the cocoa farmers, the debt owed them paid as soon as possible. In fact, immediately. Is it not?
Correct. It is so because barely a week we indicated that, yes, we owe cocoa farmers, and we explained the rationale behind why we owe cocoa farmers. It's not as if we were going around collecting cocoa from the farmers that will pay you. But we have about 50,000 purchasing clerks who stay in the communities where these cocoa farmers are. So as a result of the trust building, if the purchasing clerk doesn't have money, he will give it to the cocoa farmer in lieu of the fact that when the purchasing clerk delivers the cocoa to the LBC and he gets money, he will pay the farmer back. Now, because we had a challenge because of this buyer model transaction, some of our members were dry out of money because, as I indicated, we have been pre-financing the business for the past 7 years. And even this year, we did so. But unfortunately, with the model we are implementing, we dried out of money. That doesn't mean we have not been paying cocoa farmers, but a substantial number of farmers were paid. But of course, if any farmer raises concern, it should be our priority to pay. So we had a press conference where we appealed to government to address our concern so that we'll be able to pay the farmers and the banks that we owe. And today, we were fortunate government was prompt on the spot to listen to us. And His Excellency, the Minister Honorable Minister of Finance did give a press release where he presented the cocoa sector reform. So I must indicate that our members were very relieved. Of course, some of the farmers' leadership who were there were also relieved that these reforms, as the minister highlighted, is a promising one that would enable us come out of the woods. And of course, we hope that the technical arm of the Ministry on Cocoa Board and its technical team will be able to operationalize these reform policies that has been rolled out so that we reset our cocoa sector.
I see we've had some cocoa farmers already raising concern about the reduction in the producer price from 41,000, that's from 51,660 per ton to 41,392 cedis per ton. Is it for the LBC's perspective as well? Is it one that you're concerned about as well, or taking into consideration what's happening on the international market? There could be then that engagement to have you understand why this is a path that government is taking?
Yes, we all agree that we need to do intensive and extensive farmer education so that we will be able to break down the benefits of this proposal. The benefits of this proposal, yes, it's unfortunate that when cocoa price was so fantastic at rooftop, farmer could not benefit. Now that cocoa price has gone nosedive, now farmers are bearing this situation. But it's unfortunate. But as I indicated in one of the platforms, that in every challenges or situation, there is an opportunity. Now the opportunity here is that our farmers will become better off. I say our farmers because as an LBC, we are at the forefront of interaction with farmers when it comes to economics of financing. So with the reform, as the minister indicated, that now the farmer will get not less than 70% of the terminal price, not FOB price, terminal price, which means that if it flips upwards, the farmer benefits. And of course, even if it flips downwards, the farmer will still benefit because the terminal price is FX. And therefore, although we buy the farmer's cocoa in cities, he will be better off. Now, this is the opportunity in there, the benefit in there that we need to explain to farmers. Of course, the farmers who were there appreciated the fact that government is going to continue with the fertilizer and extension support to cocoa farmers. So the farmers who were there and then the interactions we had, they were very happy. But once they are part of us, our activity on the field, we are all in unison. We also, through our purchasing clerks and our field officers, try to explain. They should explain to farmers that yes, now the price has gone down, but that is not the end of the tunnel. There's more goodies, more opportunities that farmers should hope for, and that would enable our cocoa sector to be reset or to have the transparency that we have all been looking for.
The purpose of understanding and education, what's the difference between the FOB price and the terminal price that you just referenced?
You see, your FOB price can be fixed. FOB price can be fixed. That's in the sense that it's the cocoa you are delivering to the port of Ghana, and it's X amount. Now, when we say the terminal price, is the price that is traded on major stock exchange, London Stock Exchange, and New York Stock Exchange. Are you getting? So at every day, there is trading going on. So whatever numbers that appear there, the farmer has a stake in it. The operationalization of it will be done by the technical guys, but let me explain it. So at the terminal price, whatever goes on, the farmer has a stake in it. Unlike FOB, that the cocoa I deliver to the port of Shema, this is the price. So in most cases, yes, people will talk in FOB as spot price. But when you say terminal price, then you've moved extra mile to the heart of the game. And that is how it is. And the minister used the word as everybody heard it. Terminal. And terminal is terminal. So I will encourage our gallant farmers to embrace this policy. They shouldn't let it slip by. They should embrace it. One will ask, how will it be operationalized? there are tools to operationalize it. So the technical people operationalize it. That at any point in time, the farmer is not getting less than 70%. The word is less than. He's not getting less than. So the minimum is 70% of the terminal price. So once that is it, then there's even more room to look for higher numbers. Now, again, when you look at the price reductions that came at Ghana Cocoa, we determined the drawdown as $4,200, and the farmer is taking 90%. Of course, once the farmer has lost money, it should be of a great concern. But like I said, that is not the end of the tunnel. I am looking, or we are looking at the opportunity in there for the farmer. That minister's word that never again will the farmer be shortchanged. So for me, I appeal to our farmers. They should understand it. The farmer leadership should embrace it and then position themselves to monitor. That is a key word. Monitor that 70% of the terminal price is always going into their pockets.
I see, but let me understand it quickly before I let you go. Have any of your members, as LBCs, pre-financed the purchasing of cocoa beans over the period and are also owed? Because then that is another component of the debt within this entire framework that the finance minister talked about today. Is there something of a sort?
Oh, yes. 2024, as I indicated, some of our farmers have not been paid, but the biggest of the amount is about $185 million. It has not been paid. And this financing was not at the current administration. It's not Randy Abbey who was in charge. So it would be unfair on our part to lambast Randy Abbey in situations. Of course, people expect him to deliver gold. But as I indicated, since 2024-25 cocoa season, our members are still owed. And the highest is $185 million. So it's an appeal. We are business. We cannot be antagonistic or confrontational. The best we can do is appeal. We need to engage dialogue. That we want government to defray all this debt. And as we had assurance, all is going to be addressed. So let me use this opportunity to also thank government for this bold initiative. I said bold because there are consequences. So if you don't take a bold initiative, you will not take such a step and this is the right time to take that step as the minister did. So I must congratulate the minister for being bold, Cocoa Board and its management for being bold, and government. Again, yes, cocoa is Ghana, Ghana is cocoa, but it's so appreciating that when all of us came in to address our grievances, cabinet listened to us and then sat solely on cocoa. So I must also use this opportunity to thank members of cabinet for taking that bold initiative, and it's all thanks, congratulations to all of us.
I see. And in fact, all of these reactions to what has happened today, we're going to be keeping an eye on as well, because these reforms, as announced today, to reset the sector are far-reaching, and then also we get other stakeholders within the sector to also give their input on this. But thank you. Samuel Adimado is the president of the Licensed Cocoa Buyers Association. That's LBCs. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. And we're going to go for this quick break, but quickly before that, coming up next, 5 candidates filed to contest the Ayawaso East by-election. And that is what is coming up next right now. And the details as we have it, but 5 of them, the MPP, the NDC, and then also the LPG plus 2 independent candidates. That's what we do know right now. We're going to go for this quick break. When we're back, we'll reveal the identities of these 5 candidates for the by-election on March 3, and then also the matters arising with the GES. Stay with us.
Why settle for a bouquet when you can have a vacation?
Join us at the Chill River Resort in Cape Town,
where the world stops so the focus is entirely on the two of you, just you and your lover.
From the 13th of February to the 15th,
we leave in the chaos of a crowd behind for a weekend of intimacy and play.
Think boat cruise,
the heat of a bonfire, and the kind of serenity that lets you explore every moment together.
Limited rooms are available for just 2,200 Ghana cedis only to enjoy 2 nights of luxury and pleasure,
inclusive of special decor, candlelight dinner, and wine on arrival for you.
The room is ready. Are you?
Visit mgtix.africa
or call 054-788-6258 to book now.
Your most intimate Valentine yet is waiting. Why settle for a bouquet?
Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. Now, as I've mentioned earlier, 5 candidates have successfully filed their nominations to contest the Ayawaso East by-election. And this was earlier today at the party's, that is the Electoral Commission's constituent office, scheduled for this particular by-election scheduled for March 3, following the death of the sitting member of parliament, Muhammad Nazir Toure, on January 19. The race features Mohammed Baba Jamal Ahmed of the National Democratic Congress, Baba Ali Yusuf of the NPP, and in fact setting the stage for a keenly contested battle between the two major political parties. Also in the contest, 2 independent candidates, David Kano and Omar Sanda Mohammed, and Ibrahim Idrisu, who is representing the Liberal Party of Ghana, LPG. So now, Greater Accra Regional Director of the Electoral Commission, Gladys Penkra, told the media that the balloting to determine the positions of candidates on the ballot paper did as what happened today, with Baba Jamal on the number 1 position and Baba Ali Yusuf of the NPP picking number 3 as well. And so I'm going to put these persons on the screen right now, as we do know. And first off, Baba Jamal, representing or contesting on the ticket of the NDC, and Baba Ali Yusuf of the New Patriotic Party, Ibrahim Idrisu of the LPG, David Kano and Omar Sanda Mohammed are independent candidates contesting this by-election. And Omar Sanda Mohammed is also said to be one who has been with the NDC in that constituency for quite a while, and this time has decided to also contest as an independent candidate. So that is what we're going to be keeping an eye on and see how things play out. But let's go now. So coming up next, the Ghana Education Service, Ministry of Education, they have sanctioned 3 senior high schools over gang rape and stabbing at the sports event. We have got details for you, and that's what's coming up next. Right now, here on Ghana Tonight. There was a statement issued earlier today. The Ghana Education Service in the Eastern region has imposed a 2-year ban on the Koforidua Senior High Technical School, New Jobbing Senior High School, and the New Sutam Senior High Technical School from all sporting and co-curricular activities. The ban prohibits the schools from organizing, participating in, or attending events such as quizzes, debates, cadet programs, and entertainment activities. Each school has also been fined 500 cedis and will be liable for any costs arising from property damage or injuries. And let's take Eastern Regional Director of Education, Ivy Asantua Wusu, announced the sanctions in a press release, which we have a copy of. You can find the full details of it as well. And then we see it on the screen right now. Following the reported incidents of gang rape and stabbing during a recent inter-school sports competition in Koforidua. So that's the details as we have it now. You can find a full complement of it on 3news.com. Now, before we go, the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, well, let's do quickly with Dr. Peter Partianti, is the Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies. Dr. Anti, thank you for connecting with us here on Ghana Tonight. Would this be deterrent enough to discourage other schools and students from engaging in this nefarious activity?
You know that the students at this age are very much interested in these activities. It takes them out of the school compound. It allows them to meet other students from other schools, right. And a lot of interactions and socialization happens. So it is a very important tool that the education service is using to ensure that other schools do not go the same tangent.
But how deterring will this be? I mean,
well, I think this should be implemented alongside other measures. So those involved in all those indiscipline actions should be dealt with according to laid down rules and procedure. I've also said that one of the things that we should be doing is that we should have enough teachers accompany these students when they are going out for extracurricular activities like this. Because the parents in the house have left these kids in the hands of the teachers. And therefore, when they are going out, supervision and monitoring should be enhanced. And I think that just leaving them with probably normally the sports team, the sports teachers, the PE teachers, and a few other teachers is not adequate enough. There should be a lot of teachers accompanying them to ensure that their movement is restricted and they are monitored throughout the process. And then you institute some sort of ban like they are doing now. I think that you'll be able to make progress with this.
Dr. Anti, appreciate you on this. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
You're welcome.
Dr. Peter Patti is Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies. Before we go, the Electricity Company of Ghana has put out a notice. There are some areas experiencing power outage as a result of downstream, that's the upstream challenges, that's number one, and then also issues related to their network, and then the maintenance that they're embarking on. So these areas, the Western region, customers, general public in the underlisted areas, outage being experienced is as a result of upstream challenges. So that's Awaso, GBC, Atronsu, Sefi Bekwai, Homjebre, that's Ajaka, Manso, Diaso, Modaso, Ankwaso, Juabo, Manson Kwanta, Esaman, Denchira Subing, and surrounding communities. That's not all. There is another notice which they say the power outage being experienced in these areas is as a result of faults in their network. So the first one was with the upstream challenges. This one, they say faults in their network. Areas such as Mataheko, Hallelujah, Coastal Estates, Goshen, Bay Chile, Regional Maritime University, Graceland and its environs say if you're experiencing power outages, this is as a result of faults in the ECG network. That is not the only place. Tomorrow, 13 February, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., the Ghana Grid Company will undertake emergency maintenance works at Asiwonso bulk supply point. This will result in a temporary outage. Affected areas, Chirano, Nambro, Subri, Amiaso, Achiase, Kwame Krum, Bibiani, Mensing Gold Mining Company, Tano Dumase, KD Sreso, Nyinahi, Kufuor Camp, Bairibon, Nagole, Ntobroso, Aduberua, and then also Agogoso. Kotokum, and Yinamso 1 and 2 surrounding areas as well. So you find all of this and on the website of ECG and also the various social media handles. And these areas as well, as a result of the challenge upstream, Afienya Greenhouse Enclave, Odumase, that's Odumse, Fiankonya, Ochebreku. In North Jerusalem, Apollonia City, Katamanso, Promised Land, Elegant Homes, Data Center, Tor Estates, Emmanuel Estates, all of these areas, Bright Cement, Twin Quarries, Recycling, Eastern Quarries, Dodowa and its environs would also be experiencing or are experiencing power challenges as we speak because of what the ECG says is upstream challenges. We'll keep an eye on how solving these problems to restore power goes by. But tomorrow morning, join the New Day team between 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. There's going to be an exclusive interview with the General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, Justin Frimpong Kodia, to talk about one, Dr. Bamia's flag bearership, the NPP recovery and strengthening towards 2028, vote buying in politics, and then also an assessment of John Mohammed's administration. And Joseph Akable will sit with him and then the New Day team as well from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Then join the 3FM Sunrise team as well on 92.7. I am Alfred Conse. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Simple